This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. This is a really important video. I've talked about Elon Musk and the Neuralink ad nauseum for the most part because I continue to need to make people aware of the things that are going to come out. And of course, we need to pay attention to this technology in regards to false prophets and false miracles that we're going to continue to see. I don't know what people actually expect if they're waiting for some of these people to levitate in front of them, but I guarantee even when they do that, they will have an excuse and say that it is not a false miracle, that these people like Trump and Musk are not false prophets, that they are not antichrists. But Elon Musk's Neuralink to implant what they're calling Blindsight in the first human in the year 2025. Okay, remember, Neuralink Synchron is Elon Musk's competitor, which is not really a competitor. This is all DARPA technology that the government's releasing, and they're releasing it through corporations that you're going to go and buy these things thinking that they're going to cure this disease or make you feel this way or make you live longer. So Neuralink is for the conservatives. Synchron is the one being marketed by Bezos and Gates for Democrats. But these are the diseases that they're starting to cure, like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and now Blindsight. Last year, Neuralink's first patient got the brain chip. Okay, it's been 1 year since he's got no side effects. You see where this is going? So Neuralink is coming out with Blindsight, and you're going to hear nothing but positive chatter about it, of course, from conservatives, the ones they're trying to deceive, the ones who have been yoked up with Elon Musk. If Elon Musk did not yoke up with Donald Trump, if he did not become the face of that fake campaign where he was pretending that he was the one who was putting all his money into it, he was on the stage every day with Trump. If he didn't do that, Christians and conservatives would not be able to get duped by this guy. This is the same guy who is pushing the electric vehicle, which conservatives are supposed to be opposed to, down everyone's throat, and now conservatives are on board with it. So it's going to be very easy to transition here into people accepting this technology. So Elon Musk's Blindsight chip implant. Elon has said his brain chip startup Neuralink aims to have its artificial visual prosthesis Blindsight implanted in a human for the first time this year. We're hoping later this year to have a first device implant for humans, enabling someone who is completely blind to see. Completely blind. What does that sound like to you? A completely blind person suddenly having the ability to see. Well, we know that Christ cured the blind. Christ healed the blind. Christ is the one who could make the blind see. So wouldn't you expect false miracles to occur by people who are doing the same exact type of quote unquote miracles, which are false deceptions on the human public? Here is Elon Musk, for anyone out there who hasn't heard, here it is out of his own mouth talking about Neuralink Blindsight. And remember, he has recently trademarked telepathy, telekinesis, and now Blindsight. These are all the names of the products that are going to be sold to people, and through their free will, they're going to purchase these products and put these products inside of their body. Listen.
The next product is Blindsight, which will enable people who have lost both eyes or have no eyesight whatsoever to see. And this is directly interfacing with the optical processing areas of the brain. So, I think this is interesting progress. Ultimately, the goal of Neuralink is to have a high bandwidth interface in order to mitigate the risk of digital superintelligence.
So it's incredible that we can hear that and people still don't pay attention to it. They still don't. We're talking about curing the blind, okay? How many Bible verses do we hear about false Christs and false prophets? Let's just read a few. Matthew 24:24, chapter 24, verse 24. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. In Revelation chapter 16, verse 14. For they are demonic spirits performing signs who go abroad to the kings of the whole world to assemble them for battle on the great day of God the Almighty. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders. Mark chapter 13, verse 22. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect. And there's more verses about false miracles, okay? What is the most probably known, or at least repeated, other than Lazarus, miracle that Jesus performed? Yes, turning water to wine. Yes, walking on water. Yes, raising Lazarus from the dead. But many people are familiar with lots of stories in the Bible where Jesus heals blind men. Jesus heals a blind man in Bethsaida. He heals a blind man with mud by applying mud in his eyes. These are in John chapter 9, verses 1 through 41. Mark chapter 8, verse 22 through 26. Healing the blind beggar. In Luke chapter 18, verse 35 through 43. Think about this now. We're talking about a time period where we're seeing politics align with Jesus Christ and Christianity by their design, by their psychological operation. You have a guy who is trying to put a brain chip inside of people, who is trying to create smart cities, even building one out in Texas, who's getting a free pass because all he had to do was tell everybody he suddenly wasn't an atheist anymore and stand next to Donald Trump. And now, because they're victimizing him out in the public, because they're pretending that he's losing his money and that Democrats are protesting and blowing up Tesla stations, all of a sudden everybody's turning a blind eye to this. I wonder, who do people actually think? And I'm not saying that Elon Musk is the Antichrist or the false prophet, but I see people who just automatically dismiss that and say it's a crazy notion. Oh, the Antichrist has already come, or the Antichrist is Obama. How can we not look at this when we're talking about curing the blind, healing the blind? And we know that the Antichrist is an inversion of Jesus Christ. So he's going to perform similar miracles. Through what? Through technology. How else do you think it's going to be done? So this is some other stuff that I have to show you that Elon Musk has tweeted out in the last couple of days. Because remember, this is the MO of their psychology they're doing now. If you pay attention to how they tweet, and it's not really them, Elon Musk is not tweeting every 45 minutes on his phone, or Donald Trump on True Social. They've got people in the palm of their hands. So they're sending these messages out, and then in between them, they're rotating in things like this. So while Elon Musk is talking about trans and crazy wokeness and taking down the government waste on spending and sending you $5,000 checks, he's tweeting this out. As I mentioned several years ago, it increasingly appears that humanity is a biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. So people will hear that and they'll go, I don't even know what that means. And if you actually read underneath the comments, the majority of those people don't know what a biological bootlegger for digital superintelligence means. So let's look at what a bootloader is, right? Data of an operating system must be loaded into the working memory during device startup. This is made possible by so-called bootloader, also known as a boot program or bootstrap loader. For this purpose, immediately after a device starts, a bootloader is generally launched by a bootable medium, like a hard drive, CD, DVD, or a USB stick. The boot medium receives information from the computer's firmware about where the bootloader is. The whole process is described as booting. So you're probably hearing that, you go, I don't get it. You're talking about like booting up a computer, booting up a hard drive, booting up some type of technology. Is that what you're saying? A device, a CD player, a DVD player? Right. And he's saying that humanity is a bootloader for digital superintelligence. So he's talking about transhumanism out in the open. While he's talking about curing the blind and getting this tech inside of you that's going to cure diseases and help you live longer. Hence, in the book of Revelation, there'll be those in the end times who seek death and not be able to find death. How does a bootloader work? When you press the start button on a computer, the very first thing you see on the screen is information about the hardware installed. The software responsible for this notification is the device firmware mentioned above, which is usually implemented by manufacturers in flash memory of the computer's motherboard. Okay, so people hear this, they don't get it. They're saying that your computer that they're going to hijack using artificial intelligence, using tech, okay? Because most people don't even know what artificial intelligence is, even though Elon Musk has told you many times it's summoning the demon. and don't pay attention, okay? You're a computer system that they're trying to program. You're a bootloader, a biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. So they might market this to you and say you could be smarter, you could live longer, you could run faster, you could jump higher. Who knows how far the propaganda will go, but they'll get you on board when they start telling you that you won't get sick anymore, you won't have anxiety anymore, you won't ask why you have anxiety, why you're depressed, right? Because you won't look up at the chemtrails or the 5G towers, all things that Trump seems perfectly fine with, because of course he is. A lot of these things were rolled out during Donald Trump's first term. And of course, extraterrestrials who seeded Earth with human bootloaders, for a new AGI subspecies. This is something else that he retweeted out in the last 24 hours, right? So they're talking about human beings mixing with machine. That's the thing people out there need to understand, okay? And again, I've shown this many times. I won't not show it, but I'll go quick with it. Remember, smartphones gonna become obsolete, according to this guy who is meddling in everyone's life, who has become the face of this political propaganda movement, the face of MAGA, along with Donald Trump, saying that phones are going to become obsolete. And I make the point very simple. Do you think that we're going to go back to Little House on the Prairie days? No, we're not, right? People would explode without their phones. Well, they're going to go obsolete because BCIs, brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink, are going to become phones. So while he's talking about curing the blind and all these things, eventually this means this technology inside of your body and you operate like a machine, right? Don't forget, he also posted out in the last 24 hours himself standing inside, of the CIA headquarters, right? Wanted to make sure you all saw that because this is a CIA operative. They all are. Remember when they won the election, okay? Somebody tweeted out the Democrats won the election. Picture of 4 people who are lifelong Democrats. Trump, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk. The Democrats won the election, and Elon Musk said some deep truths there. Truth in plain sight. Elon Musk creating a Neuralink is the thing that really matters for humanity to achieve symbiosis with machines. If successful, X will evolve to be the collective consciousness of humanity, or more accurately, the human-machine collective. He misspoke when he said the Democrats won the election, because he's not a Democrat or a Republican. He's a technocrat. Technocracy, the technocracy movement, the yin and the yang, right, was a movement based on society and government running via technology, also known as AI governance, the same thing that the World Economic Forum openly admits is their one ultimate goal, and the United Nations, is AI governance. The same AI governance, of course, that Donald Trump implemented on day one of coming into power. So when we talk about the blind seeing, let me play a couple clips for you out there that everyone should see, okay? Maye Musk talking about how could anybody not want this device in their head? You're paralyzed, now you won't be. You're blind, now you'll see. Very similar to Scripture, again, where Christ cured the blind. And then, of course, Elon Musk pretty much revealing to you 2 truths. One, how they've programmed you with technology like the iWatch, the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, all these things that track and monitor under your skin, track and monitor your breathing, your sleeping, all done by design to get you ready for this. The advanced metric here, AI under the skin, turning you and mixing you with the machine, the mixing of iron and clay, as mentioned in the book of Daniel. And keep in mind, Elon Musk openly has said as well, with artificial intelligence, they're literally summoning the demon. That's what he says out of his own mouth. And he's telling you what? You're going to be a bootloader for digital super intelligence. And again, super intelligence, artificial intelligence is summoning a demon. So you understand what this technology means that they're trying to implement and then get you to accept and put in your body while they keep you distracted with nonsense about genders, gender ideologies, racism, all this crap that they make the people divided over. This is what's happening right in front of our faces, and it's getting closer by the second.
People like your song. Yes.
I mean, he walks around as the wealthiest man in the world, bar none. Do they like him, really?
You know, I don't like the word wealthy or billionaire or things like that because I think it's degrading. I think he's the genius of the world. And people are loving him for that. They don't, when they see me, they go crazy because I'm his mother. But they love him because of what he does and they respect him and I'm very proud of him.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be his mother, watching him go from PayPal to rockets to Tesla to all just one thing after another. You ever surprised about what he's coming up with next?
Well, every time I'm surprised, and every time I say, don't take on something else. And he doesn't listen to me. And then he makes a big change. And this Neuralink, people saying, why I don't want something in my head. I said, well, you aren't paralyzed. So, or you aren't blind.
Good point.
If you're blind and you don't want to see, then you can argue the point. You don't have to have a chip in your head. I think he's the genius of the world. And this Neuralink, people saying, why I don't want something in my head. I said, well, you aren't paralyzed. So, or you aren't blind.
Good point.
If you're blind and you don't want to see, then you can argue the point. You don't have to have a chip in your head. A chip in your head. A chip in your head.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. We feel confident about getting the link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
So AI summoning the demons, it's a Fitbit for your brain. These are all things that I've shown in the past, but of course, if you're new to it, then it's now new to you. And of course, those videos are all long removed because most of them do get removed because they don't want you to wake up to the psyop that all these characters on TV, from Trump to Musk to Biden to Obama, are all working together and keeping you divided and distracted. And that, of course, was Maye Musk, the mother of Elon, who, of course, we've seen doing the most obvious Illuminati, all-seeing eye symbolism, satanic symbolism out of anyone out there, right? You show this to these people and they're like, I don't know, the mom's so fancy. You show Madonna doing it or Beyonce doing it, they go, they're Illuminati, they're in on it, they're a part of the club, right? Well, this is Maye Musk, the handler, the one that walks around side by side with Elon every day. Could it be more obvious? I mean, she's literally got Baphomet horns coming out of the head. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the bottom left picture. It looks like she swatted herself in the eye with a large spoon. I mean, could it be more obvious who these people work for? And again, for anyone out there that doesn't know, we talk about the Antichrist and we talk about the Babylon working ritual. For anyone out there, again, that doesn't know, Crowley, Parsons, Hubbard, the Babylon working ritual, okay? It was performed in 1946. And the purpose of these magic rituals was to try and aim to incarnate the Thelemic goddess Babylon inside of a human being. That's what the ritual was done for. So they were trying to bring about a goddess. And they tell us that she was born in 1948, if you believe it's a she, of course, and if you actually believe the date that they give. But Maye Musk was born right around the time period of that ritual. So the moon child is supposed to give birth to the Antichrist. And then you can look at it and say, well, maybe that's the result of the Babylon ritual, the Babylon working ritual, and bringing about that Thelemic goddess, that it may have indeed been Maye Musk who then birthed the Antichrist. There's others out there that believe that Elon Musk is the false prophet. And I'm not saying one or the other, but I'm saying signs continue every day with the worship that we see, with the involvement specifically of God, right? And I'm not saying God's involved. I'm saying them telling you divine intervention with Trump saved his life from one of the worst false flag psyops we've ever seen. They have brought these people now into Christians' lives. We see the majority of churches preaching about Donald Trump and Elon Musk and telling you to pray for them. The deception is that thick. That's never happened before. People weren't going to church and talking about George W. Bush. People aren't going to church and talking about Reagan. They were talking about God and Jesus. But have you noticed the 501c3 controlled churches? What they're doing to people? One, yoking them up with the synagogue of Satan. On the other hand, what are they doing? They're telling you to constantly pray for these people, these celebrities in a sense, right? Remember, these false prophets may look like sheep, but they attack like a wolf. They seek to devour by causing people to believe a lie or put their trust in some other place than truly following Jesus or his word. Don't you see that exactly happening around us? The trust that these people have is in Trump and Musk. And they'll tell you that's not true because they're narcissists in some senses, right? They'll tell you, I'm not doing that. God is, Jesus is my Lord. Trump's my president. That's some of the propaganda they try to convince themselves of. But by their behavior, by their fruits, they are known, right? They talk about Jesus and the scriptures, right? Trump talks about Jesus in the scriptures, sometimes brings it up and how wonderful it is to be a Christian. But ultimately, it's his kingdom that he is working for, not the kingdom of God. And Jesus warns us to be aware of false prophets because they're dangerous and deceptive. So the Bible tells us about all of this stuff with deception, with false miracles. Look in front of you. Look at the deceptions happening now. You think divine intervention? You don't think it's even blasphemous, these people, to step in and speak on behalf of God, to say that this guy was saved because God saved him? You know how blasphemous that is? Did anyone even understand that? Not to mention the stuff with the technology. I see people comment, they're like, it's not the tech, it's not the tech, it's Sunday law, it's not going to be the tech. Well, what do you think these miracles are going to be performed with? Like I said, look, they use magic, telepathy, telekinesis. This is all through the technology. This is all through the prince of the power of the air, who is Satan. The deception is strong, ladies and gentlemen. So you could tell people this, and I would hope that people, I understand that people have a tough time with the moon child and the rituals and the inversion of who is who. I get that. And you could speculate that. But we're talking about literally blind people with no eyes having the ability to see and running experiments in 2025. And I can guarantee you, they already have the technology to do this. This is about watching how you respond because they condition you into this technology. They watch how you respond. They watch if suddenly you start calling these people false prophets and Antichrist. They see if you're interested in buying it. They see if you applaud when they tell you about one guy having it for a year and living his best life, who once had Parkinson's, who can now communicate with telekinesis or telepathy using his computer, right? They watch and monitor you and condition you into this. And that's how we've got to this point. That's how we've gotten to a point where people can't even leave their homes without a phone. Yet 25 years ago, when the phone wasn't a big deal, most people said, I don't want a cell phone. I don't want my mom calling me when I'm out. I don't need to call somebody when I'm out. I'll get a pay phone, right? If I got into an accident. Now it's not about calling someone if you get in an accident. It's about constant communication with the tech because it's the worst obsession. It's the worst addiction that we've ever seen in human history. You talk about all these other things they distract you with, drugs, alcohol, pornography, the internet, the phone, the technology. That is the addiction that people are deceived by. And they think that these are wonderful creations that these inventors came up with that are going to save humanity, help them live longer. Meanwhile, they didn't come up with this stuff. This is fallen angel technology. This is government technology passed through corporations. Like I've said a million times, because if DARPA showed up at your door and said, hey, you want a brain chip? You'd say, what in the world? They've eased you into this. Tech, possibilities, science, wonderment, saving lives, living longer, right? Instead of people going, you know what? Has the technology caused the problems? Has the technology caused the frequency assaults on all of us that we see going on, from anxiety, depression, you name it, radiation, cancer? Yes, it has. Has technology caused other things to happen to people? A psychosis? Yes, it has. You're watching the psychosis because the left-right paradigm would have never have been this bad and could never have gotten to this point if the cell phone wasn't so prominent in people's lives. They weren't able to access your mind as often as they can now. They used to have to get you to get in front of a TV to hear these politicians speak on a Tuesday night 4 times a year, whatever amount it is for the State of the Union. Most people wouldn't even watch the news. Now, every day, it's mass consumption of propaganda, and thus the psychosis. And thus they're able to move forward with this by having billions of people around the world who are stuck in this political theater, in the left-right paradigm, thinking that these people are elected by the people. When they're selected, you're watching a global monarchy is what you're watching. These people continue to put themselves in power. They put actors in place. They make you think that it's your neighbor who voted this fool in, it's your neighbor who voted this dictator in, and everyone gets down each other's throats and never realizes that the entire thing's a simulation. It's a simulation on you. They wear you down, and then you get to the point where, at the end of the day, you don't have time to look and think about stuff like this because this is too much to grasp. What? False prophets? Antichrist? Oh, but you're a guy who goes to church every week, right? Well, I go to church, got to do my obligation. Oh, so your obligation is to go there and sit and daydream and think about Trump and Musk and wait for the minister to talk about praying for our country and praying for Trump. I don't see any of that in the Bible. Yeah, pray for Mystery Babylon, right? These people are fools being deceived. If you're new to my channel, I know it might blow your mind. I am not a Democrat or a Republican because it's not real. Snap out of it. You have a mass amount of people who are members of secret societies who are manipulating you, dividing you, and eventually conquering you. And they're going to deceive you along the way, like they already are. Just it's going to get worse with false miracles of curing the blind, curing cancer, and it's all about getting this technology under your skin. Because remember, as your hero Elon Musk said, you're nothing more than a biological bootloader for digital super intelligence. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for letting me rant. God bless all of you as always and your families.